Alright, so I've had a talk with Pythium. He claims to be interested in going to war with Abyssia more than me, and that this was because he was worried about my stacks in my two forts. I don't know if I entirely believe that, but he's agreed to move some of his units away, and I've agreed to move some of my units away, which I can do. Me moving my infantry away does not decrease my power much. I'm happy to do that, especially if it makes me look less threatening. I'm not interested in trying to fight a war through this border right now. Gotta finish dealing with Yama. Then, probably I need to go to war against Agartha. Agartha is scary. They're a frightening faction at the moment. They have a lot of territory, they have a lot of forts, they have a lot of income, and Pythium, who had the Eyes of God up for one turn, has told me that they also have, quote, scary high research. Which kind of lines up with something Nasajim was saying to me earlier, the Agarthan player, about having alteration at a really high level. I don't know how much he's focused. He told me he has construction 0, which I pretty much believe. He's focused entirely on a couple of goals, as opposed to me spreading my research out to get relatively low-level stuff in a bunch of fields. Probably, to be honest, his strategy is better, but we'll see. I certainly haven't seen any items on his mages in any of the battles that I've seen, so I believe that he doesn't have any construction. So that being so, I know he has enchantment up to level 8, which is what you need to get the national spell. If he also has alteration up to level 7 or 8, which he may well have, then he has access to Marble Warriors, Bone Grinding potentially if he's gotten some high-level Death Mages, which I don't think he has a real good way to get. Mass Protection, which he can't really cast. But then at level 8 he has Ground Army, which gives shock resistance to the whole army, albeit not much. Conflagration, which sets people on fire, Quickening Liquefy, and Wizard's Tower, which is a spell that spawns a fort. So, he's got some good stuff, and Disintegrate, which is a single target murder spell. And he'll be heading up towards level 9 to get Army of Gold and Army of Lead, which gives Iron Skin to your whole army. Now, like I've said before, the Agarthan statues already have really high protection, so to be honest, Army of Gold and Army of Lead won't help them much. It'll help the rest of his chaff a lot. Downside, if he casts Army of Gold, he's resistant to heat and fire, but he takes additional damage from shock. He becomes shock vulnerable. So I think casting Army of Gold or Army of Lead against me would be a bad decision, because I can always swap most of my oppressors over to Thunderstriking. In any case, like I said, we're dealing with this situation. I'm casting Arouse Hunger to get some ghouls in here. I'm summoning 2 packs of ogres and a bunch of claymen. Sextus is going to try to assassinate somebody. May be able to stop them from breaking down the walls. Right now, my siege defense is only 25, and I have wall integrity 61. So they'll need to do 86 points of damage of siege strength in order to break my walls down. Plus everything that I summon. I'm summoning Arouse Hunger will give me about 10 more from the ghouls, or more like 12 more. Ogres will give me, I think, probably 10 more or so. The Claymen will give me almost nothing because they're mindless, and so they give you only 0.1 siege defense each. So it'll give me like 1 more point, but they're regenerating chaff that I'll be able to use if he assaults the castle. If he assaults the castle, I will probably lose. I just don't have good options in here right now. I don't have any communion slaves, so I can't form an effective communion. So all I'll have is like level 1 mages. And I can do some things with that, but not a whole lot. So we'll have to see. Especially because we're not going in this turn, because it would just kill Electos and Hulk, and it wouldn't help. So we're gathering up our armies right here. In 2 turns we'll smash this stack, unless it runs, which it might do. Yama might want to prolong the pain, or this might be, as I've said before, his death ride, and he might just fight and die here. Hopefully he does, because, frankly, I'm bored of dealing with Yama, and it's becoming a right pain in the ass. Mainly due to my own incompetence. On the strategic level, if we look at global enchantments, you notice that Abyssia has actually taken over the Eyes of God. So they overcast the Eyes of God enough to take it away from Pythium. I don't like either of them having that, but I don't have the free fire gems right now to cast Fate of Oedipus. I will try to get up to that point. That said, what I'm actually going to do with fire gems is I'm going to build up to the point where I can cast Phoenix Pyre. I'm also going to try to take Mother Oak away from Uruk at some point here, hampered by the fact that Uruk will have more nature income than I do, but since I can cast Mother Oak natively, I have a shot, at least. I have seen Uruk's God, incidentally. Uruk's God is over here, and it's an Anunnaki of Love and War, so it's a Titan chassis. Strategically speaking, Pythium, Tianxi, Abyssia, and Agartha are all contenders at this point. Vanheim is not a contender. Uruk I don't think of as a contender. They're smaller than a lot of the others, and the Uruk player is of course new. I don't know... They might pull it off. They might be able to accomplish something, but we'll have to see. Right now, they've taken the Range of Shadow, and they're also taking this fort. Agartha is still besieging Ulm. And they have, like, they've committed a couple of their cap-only mages and a lot of stuff to that, so it's interesting that that is still going on. But, my scouts are moving in. We're going to have to see. Like I said, I'm probably going to need to go to war with Agartha. And I will probably try to call in Uruk and possibly Abyssia to help me with that. I would like Uruk to get more territory than Abyssia, just as a balance of power thing, because Uruk is less threatening to me, they're smaller, and they have less stuff. Certainly less stuff that I can't kill. Abyssia is large, as I've said before, and they probably by this point have a pretty significant blood economy rolling. By turn 40 they better, if they want to be relevant in the late game. And they have blood and astral, so they can eventually cast astral corruption and all kinds of nasty things. Abyssia gots to go, to be honest. They've been friendly and helpful so far, but that can't last much longer. Also Vanheim. If I want to get more territory relatively cheaply, taking it from Vanheim is the way to do it. So probably what's going to happen is after I finish up Shinuyama, grab these last couple of provinces, maybe send some amphibious people to steal the water, then we roll north in general, and we take out Vanheim, and then shortly afterwards we go to war with Agartha. So we'll see about that. Like I said, I'm pulling some troops back. I can do that basically for free. Next turn I will see if Pythium has done so. All these guys are set to retreat, so I shouldn't lose anything if he comes after me in Caverns of Gnek. And next turn I'll have Evocation 7, which will allow me to drop all sorts of nastiness on his big infantry stacks. So, we'll see how things develop, and I'll see you next turn. Hello folks, and welcome back to another episode of General Confusion is Bad at Dominions, aka Honor. So, a couple turns ago, it seemed clear that the war with Shinuyama was over, and in fact it is over. Shinuyama has almost nothing left except this one army, which I attacked last turn. And, well, let me show you what happened. Once again, okay, I'm just going to pause here. This is a really common issue. It affects a lot of people, but particularly me. I have a strong tendency to go into battles expecting to fight the last war, and do fine because of that. Unfortunately, in the process of doing so, I tend to neglect capabilities that other people have that they have not demonstrated to me. For example, I don't know where this came from, but Tamamo-no-mae has an astral pearl that I don't think she had last turn. At least, if she had it, I forgot. And she also has, I'm just checking to make sure nobody else has any gems. Yeah, they've got one nature gem, which won't be enough to howl. That's fine. Yeah, so here's the thing. Watch this battle. So we're doing the thing that I was talking about. These guys absorbed attention very effectively. My tyrants got themselves all geared up to go. Unfortunately, they kind of went separately, because this guy, I guess he was fighting someone, which disrupted him or something, but in any case, Slab Brickjaw takes off way before anybody else, and these two both run up north to fight these Soulless, which is okay. Slab Brickjaw almost got a Bakemono Sorcerer here, which would have been great, but he was stopped just short. And now here comes the problem. So Tamamo-no-mae has, I forgot to consider what exactly she has. She has Air, Earth, and Astral, which is a terrible combination. It means A, she can Thunderstrike and cast Lightning Bolts. See, like over here, we're doing fine. Everything's good. Still maximum hit points, killing lots of dudes. Over there, those two are fighting their way through the Daibakemono. Got Earth Melded here, which dropped defense to 0, but defense was already very low, so not too worried about it. And the skeletons are basically stopping anyone actually worth anything from getting to me. So Slab is actually regenerating his damage as quick as he takes it. Over here, these two have cut their way through a pack of Daibakemono, taking minor damage, and are about to go fight down here. Everything seems to be going pretty well. This is what I expected and hoped would happen. So now let's watch what happens. First of all, we got a Blade Wind, Banefire Darts, all that stuff flying out there. Not going to accomplish much. Oh, what was that? That was a Lightning Bolt. I forgot that he could cast Lightning Bolts because this nation naturally has no air. But of course, Tamamo-no-mae has 4 points of air. And she's buffed her own precision with her Bless. So she is precision 19, which means she's not going to miss hardly ever. And lightning damage, of course, is armor negating. So that by itself would kind of tip the balance here. Slab Brickjaw cannot fight on while he is being hit by armor negating damage like that. He's going to be worn down much more quickly. Then to add insult to injury, he gets stunned here. And so when he's stunned, of course he can't attack or take any actions. And his defense was already 0, but it's 0 more. So he gets chopped down. Then, just to continue on, Tamamo-no-mae casts Gifts from Heaven, a hugely damaging spell that is normally limited by its lack of accuracy. But look at that. 50 hit points, 22 hit points stunned. Sniper accuracy. Actually, they didn't quite... it did hit him, and he survived, which is pretty incredible. I'm actually shocked. If you take a direct hit from Gifts from Heaven, you're usually just outright dead. But, where is it? This is a long combat log for everybody here. Well, it looks like they probably hit on either side of him and just hit him with splash damage or something. But, yeah. So, Pronos is stunned, leaving only Aristwaddle by himself, and Aristwaddle is actually the worst equipped of the three. So the infantry come in, they surround them, and Daibakemono are not pushovers. We get several more kills, but Pronos goes down, and then Aristwaddle goes down shortly thereafter. Now, I'm not going to say I would have won without that lightning. I might have won without the lightning and the Gifts from Heaven. It could have happened. I would have certainly had a much better shot. That said, I don't know that I would have. I only know that I definitely was not going to win this battle because I underestimated Tamamo-no-mae. Oh, that's where the pearl came from. She generated it herself. Gotcha. So, I just lost 3 tyrants for no reason and for very little payoff. I killed 26 Daibakemono. That's all. Not worth it. Definitely not worth it. My fort lost about 70 points of wall integrity last turn. I've summoned some units. I summoned some claymen that have some, but have tiny amounts of siege defense. So they are going to break in, and they're probably going to be able to storm Yama and take it back, to be honest. I could try to stop them with Electos and Hulk Smash, but if 3 tyrants couldn't take this army, 1 tyrant definitely can't. And throwing Hulk Smash deep into enemy dominion, into harm's way, would be a terrible plan. So we're just going to wait. Electos and Hulk Smash are going to search for sites. We're going to get our big ol' army up here, carrying our big ol' bunch of gems, and we're going to crush them in the appropriate way. We're also moving troops up here. Pelorus is going to join us. We're going to take all these troops with us. It'll be a good time. And we're also going to bring him, carrying nature gems, so that he can howl, and then he has a bow, so he can then shoot and not involve himself in the combat any further. We're going to take all of these guys. They're all going to move up there. Pelorus needs a Ring of Regeneration and some shoes, so he'll be able to regenerate. Electos has an Amulet of Resilience and Earth Boots. I don't actually have any Earth Gems in this army, so Why don't we have you carry some Earth Gems? Electos will not be going into face-first combat. Yeah, I'm frustrated. And I'm frustrated with myself, because this is something that I could have figured out would happen, and I could have stopped. And I should have stopped. But, because I wasn't thinking about it, I didn't manage to do what I would have needed to do in order to win. And that was... I probably shouldn't have taken that fight in the first place. I was just being hasty. I was rushing. If I was going to take that fight, I definitely should not have done it the way I did. But in any case, we have all his production locked down. He has nowhere to go. He could take this army up here or over here and try to rescue these forts, but I have my Doom stack out now, and I'm just going to follow him. This is a fairly doomy Doom stack, and it's going to have, I'm going to have the extra communion slaves with it to kick it up over the 16 mark, and so long as I deploy it carefully and use it carefully, it's not going to lose. They don't have enough stuff to force the battle to take long enough to lose. I don't think. I've been wrong before, several times at this point, but I think this army is just as potent as the army that originally beat Shinoyama, basically, and took over Shinoyama itself, so I think I can do it. Of course, the downside is I now have exactly 3 tyrants left in my entire nation on turn 40. So, very, very frustrating. This is interesting. This tells me that Pythium is thinking about attacking me, which I don't like. I don't like that at all. I don't like that one little bit. Magic item-wise, I do have 1 pair of winged shoes. I could really use a second if Pythium is going to come in and attack me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need another slave up here, actually. I need another shackled mage. All these guys, I'm just going to set to retreat. If Pythium decides to attack this province, then he can have it. The Caverns of Gnek won't help him much. I'll take the cave crabs with me as I run. They are undisciplined, but that's fine. I'm just going to set all these guys way in the back. I can definitely finish off Shinoyama if I'm not jumped on. Now, there's no reason for 300 units to be here unless Pythium is thinking about attacking me. There just doesn't exist a reason for that. So, I'm a little bit worried, yeah. I could, if I wanted to, I could pull off an earthquake trap. It wouldn't be that difficult. But it also wouldn't, I mean, it wouldn't win the battle by itself. He has a big pile of infantry, and big piles of infantry do kind of have a quality all their own. You need big piles of infantry to stop big piles of infantry from getting to your squishy mages. I don't have big piles of infantry here at the moment. I'm recruiting more infantry and archers, which is fine. All fine and dandy. I don't have good commanders over there either. So, I'm a little worried about that situation, and probably what I need to do about it is I need to take some of these units and start them moving that way. So we're going to give Nautis some troops. We're going to give Ophalestes some troops. We're also going to take these guys. No, those guys are only really good for sieges. We're not going to take them. But we're going to take these two, Ophalestes and Nautis. And we're also going to take Perseus and Mindros, and we're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 slaves. Put that back in the... Put that away. You don't get that. And we're going to move them down to Phlegra. Just in case. We'll also max out recruitment in Phlegra itself. And on top of all of that, we're going to take one... Yeah, we're going to take you as well. So you all can move down here. Do I have another Thistle Mace I could give somebody? No, I have another, I do have another Alquill I could give somebody. That's great. And we're going to give you a Just Man's Cross. Oh, you can't have it because you're holding a Thistle Mace. Okay, take the Just Man's Cross instead then. So, if Pythium tries to come in, I think I have the magical power around to stop them, but it's going to be irritating and painful, and I won't like it. So I'm going to have a talk with him, and we're going to see if that's going to happen. And if it is, then there's going to be an issue. He can't come straight across here, so probably if he attacks me, what he's going to do is move to the Caverns of Unek, and or send a force to Shepherd's Haven. Honestly, my counter move to that is actually to patrol in Shepherd's Haven right now. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all air randoms. Then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I need one more slave here as well. So let's get one more of them. That'll give me 16. Up here, I need, I think, one more to hit 8, did I decide? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I need one more to hit 8. So this is by far the weaker defense, but it'll be okay. And cave crabs would kind of be handy to save them. Let's give them to Eridu and move Eridu into that province there. I wonder why I can move across that river. Can these guys move across the river? Oh no, it's because he's undead. So, cast ritual spell. Summon a couple more cave crabs. They'll just retreat if they're attacked. They'll be fine. I hope Pythium doesn't attack me, because that would be an issue. I think it's an issue I could deal with, but it would be an issue nonetheless. I've got my 2 commanders down here, so we're going to split them up, move them to these provinces. We'll grab the troops up in here, mainly the heavy cavalry. Over here, we'll grab the cataphracts and some infantry, and we will also send them over towards Pythium. Like I said, I'm going to talk with him. Just letting him know this has been seen may stop or at least slow things down. But we're going to push a whole bunch of scouts right through there in an effort to get at least one of them through alive. But like this, that's a battle communion. This is a huge stack of units that also contains communionable units, lots of them. So, yeah, I'm worried. I legitimately am, because I think Pythium is going to try to attack me. And I think I can beat him. I definitely think I can. But it will be hard, and it will slow me down. And at this point in the game, I'm already slow enough, because I'm failing against Yama hard enough to be slow. And being slow will kill me, because my competitors are as large as I am, and as tough as I am. And I will need everything, and I will need speed in order to take them on. Research-wise, I am going to hit Evocation level 7 next turn, and that will be a nice little surprise. If somebody comes in and attacks me, especially someone like Pythium, I will be able to drop Firestorms, I will be able to drop Rain of Stones, which will disrupt his communion. I will be able to, it'll disrupt my communion too to an extent, but I think I have better defenses against it. I'll be able to drop Acid Storm, Shimmering Fields, I'll be able to drop all kinds of nastiness. I may even be able to cast Wind of Death. Yeah, with a 2 death random, no, I would need an air random, actually, an air random tyrant. I don't think I have any of those left. I think they're all dead. Because I think I have a grand total of, 2 tyrants? 3 tyrants. Oh no, I do have an air random. Mr. Pelorus. Tell you what, Mr. Pelorus, just in case, why don't you disperse your troops insofar as you can? Okay, Mr. Pelorus, why don't you, instead of joining that fight, why don't you come down here? Because if I give you a Skull Staff, you'll be able to use Death Gems to cast Wind of Death, which would be a nasty little surprise for Pythium. I could just move you in, have you cast Wind of Death, and then have you scripted to retreat. You have a decent amount of reinvigoration. I'd stack reinvigoration items on him, just put him way in the back, and Wind of Death a Pythian stack and run away. Should be fine. So, I have options. If Pythium comes in, I'll make him regret it. He may still be able to get at me, but I'm going to talk to him, see if he'll tell me what's up. And that's going to be the turn. This situation is a mess. Shinuyama can't win long term, but what they can do is make this take a long time and cost me a lot, especially if I keep fucking up, which I probably will. You live and learn, as my dad's always said, or you die ignorant. So, we will try to live and learn, and I'll see you all in turn 41. Take care. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is turn 41 of Honor, and things are finally coming to a satisfactory conclusion in Shinuyama. We cast a whole bunch of summons last turn. We're summoning cave crabs, we summoned some ghouls into the fortress in Shinuyama, where we also summoned 2 groups of ogres and 3 groups of claymen, and the result was we did manage to hold out. They did about 23 less damage than they needed to, which means our doom stack is here. This army is huge, like ridiculously huge. Unfortunately, most of them are now starving, which means their morale is abysmal instead of merely bad. But, well, not most of them. A lot of them are starving. Like 100 of them are starving. If you hit S, I think you can see all of these starving people in any given group. So you can see a whole bunch of that group, whole bunch of this group, about half of that group. About half of that group. Basically, I think about half the infantry are starving just because my giants eat so dang much food. Yeah, it looks to be about half of my helots starving. The Gigantes, some of the Gigantes are also starving, which hurts their morale, but since they go berserk, that's not so much of a problem. By the way, you can. What I'm doing is I'm hitting S, which shows me all the starving units. Then you can hit Enter to deselect. In case I've never said that before, I don't remember if I have. You can also hit D to select all the diseased units in a group, or W to select every unit that has an affliction. W for wound. So you can see here, this guy has a disease and a limp and a never healing wound because he's just a super unlucky. He's also the only diseased one there. So, my starving diseased stack will roll in here, hit this army. Simultaneously, I'll break the siege with all of these guys. I do have 16 slaves in this stack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 exactly, just making sure I hadn't miscounted. We're going to howl, and then this guy will shoot his little bow instead of casting any more spells, because I've learned my lesson there. I'm casting a wide variety of buffs round 1 with my various Trophimos oppressors, and then I'm summoning a whole bunch of elementals with these guys and this guy, while also thunder striking with him and him. And Anthros, remind me what you're doing. What's your contribution here? You were summoning fire elementals. Instead of going into melee combat, which I don't need to do and might be risky, Electos is going to cast Phoenix Power, Flaming Arrows, and then just spam Magma Eruptions. He has 5 Gigantes guarding him, and 5 more are going to go into battle. Since he's wearing pretty heavy armor and a hat, he shouldn't be berserked by random arrows. Like, a random arrow would have to hit him very, very hard in order to berserk him. Anthros, you were summoning fire elementals, but instead, I think I will simply have you cast Magma Eruptions, which you can do very easily and without costing me any money. Or alternatively, you could throw Strength of Giants to aid my troops in killing the enemy more quickly. Where is my Strength of Giants? Strength of Giants? Strength of Giants. There, that's Legions of Steel. There it is, Strength of Giants. Just spam that out a few times. Hit X to multicast. And yeah, you sit down here and just spam out Strength of Giants on everyone around you, please. Summoning Earth Power, not necessary. Instead, I would like you to cast... why don't you cast Liquid Body? Yeah, cast Liquid Body on yourself to give yourself resistance to damage and afflictions. And we have just a crap ton of helots coming in. This is like the classic Phlegra stack. 140 there, some random dudes here, about 40 there, so up to 180, well over 300, 340, 350, about 350 helots, plus assorted giants. And we're going to roll in, and if we don't stop this stack flat, I will give up. I will If I don't win this battle, I will seriously consider just going AI, just giving it all up, because come on now. Come on now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 mages, leading a massive battle communion, plus over 400 troops. If I can't beat this stack at this point, I don't deserve to be playing this game. Shush you, none of you agree with that. These guys, who I had moved together with the stack, with the thought that they could cast spells, but also pretty much by accident, are going to move to these provinces and search for death sites. I bet this province has probably searched for death sites already, but I'm going to search it again just in case. This army, with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 communion slaves and 4 masters, not with any gems, are going to move up here and then go over here to help take Lapintha, which is a fortress already. As soon as I take it, I'll be able to use it very effectively. I am going to claim this throne at some point, but before I do that, I need to make somebody a prophet. Right now I'm doing something that I should have started doing a while ago and people were rightfully chastising me for, which is I'm casting Twiceborn on a Phlegra Tyrant. Amphimakos here, who I will rename to something hilarious soon, trust me. He spawned with Death 2, which is, to my mind, the most useful potential crosspath for Phlegra Tyrants. I don't want him to die, so I'm casting Twiceborn, which means when he dies, he'll come back as a white mage. Now, there are pros and cons to that. On the con side, and actually the pros and cons are the same thing. I mean, obviously one pro is he comes back when he dies, and so I don't lose him. A con is that he doesn't come back as a giant. He doesn't come back as a Phlegra Tyrant, he comes back as a standard white mage, which is a size 2 human chassis. However, he does have a chance to gain yet another level of death magic doing it, which would actually be pretty rad. And he loses Berserk and causes unrest and inept researcher in the process. So when he comes back as a white mage, I've tested this. When Phlegra Tyrants come back as white mages, it's an interesting transformation because on the one hand, they're not super combatants anymore. On the other hand, the life of a super combatant is extremely dangerous, or a thug rather, because I haven't actually made any of these guys full-fledged super combatants yet. I haven't had the research. But they lose all their thug powers, but they come back as objectively better mages. They're not berserk, they can research better. They're not gluttonous, so they don't take up extra supplies. I think if I recall correctly, they lose some of these resistances, but of course they gain 25 cold resist, and they keep all their paths and have a chance to gain an extra path, an extra level in death. They do lose their affliction resistance, sadly, and their combat caster. But worth it, in a way. Like, if a Phlegra Tyrant that I've cast Twiceborn on dies, I'm not sad the way I am if a Phlegra Tyrant who has not cast Twiceborn dies. Now, I'm not going to cast it on every Tyrant probably because my Death Gem income is fairly low. So like Pelorus, who randomed 1 level of air, that actually is nice because with air and death cross paths, I could potentially cast Wind of Death. So I will Twiceborn him at some point. I'm not Twiceborning him right now because instead he's forging a Shade Mail Halberdian, which gives the person wearing it Stealth 20. And I'm doing that solely because I don't know if it's efficient. It's probably not an efficient expenditure of death gems at this point, but I'm doing it mainly because it's hilarious. Because with a Shade Mail Halberdian, I have the opportunity to sneak a Phlegra Tyrant carefully and stealthily into enemy territory, and I just cannot pass up that chance. Looking at our messages, the Throne of Destiny has been claimed in the name of the god of Uruk. So, if we look at the Thrones of Ascension, he's got the Throne of Destiny, which is level 3. And that, if we look at Uruk's territory, that must be... where'd it go? I've lost it. Oh, God, I've lost it. I think it's this one. It could potentially be this one. I don't believe it's this one. I think Abyssia has this one. I'm actually going to move a scout in that direction to check. And this appears to be a vampire rebellion, which will actually be kind of tough for Uruk to put down because vampires have invulnerability 25. Agartha has finally taken Ulm, and we can watch that battle. It happened just by... they finally applied overwhelming force, basically. That's what happened. They sent in enough to get through the blizzard. And Drangus III is casting Gifts from Heaven. Yep, there it goes. But yeah, the Iron Blizzard is still doing tremendous damage, but there's just not enough Olmish infantry left. Only a couple of Guardians. And while the Gifts from Heaven and the Iron Blizzards are wreaking havoc, they can't wreak havoc for all that long because the Agarthan infantry is pouring through totally unimpeded. So they're going to get one more round of Iron Blizzard off here. Go into the back there. And then the Ogres, if nothing else, are basically going to be on them. Although the Olmish Ogres have routed. But the Shard Guard are going to get in there and do the business. And these Smiths, once they're caught in melee, they're nothing special. The Olmish infantry are all routing. The Agarthan statues are flooding through. This Agarthan statue is somehow mute, which is interesting. And weakened and limping and all that stuff. They've taken a lot of damage capturing Ulm. But it's still super worth it. They're still not casting much battle magic either, which is interesting. Like, they've got 2 oracles here, which have high-level earth, and yet they are not casting earth spells. Like, he's not scripting his mages or something? I'm not entirely sure, but these mages contributed practically nothing to the battle. Like, if we look at, let's look at the unit log real quick. Golem Crafter, Earth Power, Iron Skin, Legions of Steel, and then Iron Warriors. So 1 Legions of Steel, 1 Iron Warriors, another Legions of Steel down here. So, okay, basic buffs. Drangus III is... I think Drangus is still fighting, actually. But let's look at the other mages. Okay, Oracle, Divine Blessing, Iron Skin, Iron Warriors, Earth Meld. Earth Meld? Really? And Stone Spawned. Iron Warriors, Strength of Giants, Holy Avenger, Temper Flesh. Okay, so I don't think we've seen a spell from them except Iron Warriors that's above level 3. Which is interesting. Like, if we look at research. Iron Warriors is Alteration level 5. So we know he has Alteration level 5. The reason this is interesting to me is because I know, because Abyssia, who has the Scoregraphs, because they've cast Eyes of God, they've shared the Scoregraphs with me. I know that Agartha has way more research than I do. Like, Agartha has... Like, I look at my research, I'm doing 1,000 research points per turn right now. Last turn I had like 800 something. Agartha probably has 1,400 per turn as of last turn. They're doing a lot of research. And Pythium is right up there with them. In fact, Pythium is slightly above, or at least was last turn. Maya, yeah, they're doing a ton of research. More research than I am. Now, if I focus and ramp up my research, I could probably reach that and beat them eventually, just because my research mages are so cheap and so efficient in my Magic 3 domain. But the fact remains that Agartha should have much better research than me. I know that they have Enchantment 7. In fact, I think they have Enchantment 8. Because Enchantment 8, as I've said, is where they get their mass statue summoning spell. Beyond that, I'm not entirely sure what they have. I'm pretty sure, based on what I saw there, I'm pretty sure they don't have, like, high-level evocation. Like, they probably don't have Blade Wind, or they would have tried to cast it. Off script, if nothing else. They probably don't have Earthquake. They have Alteration level 5, but if they had Alteration level 6, well, they might have Alteration level 6. I'm sure they don't have 7, because they didn't try to cast Marble Warriors. Beyond that, I don't know where they are. I really don't know. I know they have Conjuration level 3, obviously, because they were summoning Earth Power. I don't know how much more Conjuration they have. So I'm kind of shooting blind. But that was a lot less battle magic than I expected to see. It looks like Agartha and Uruk are kind of running into each other over here, which is fine by me. They can do that. Uruk, of course, has taken this fort and is sieging down this fort. They've broken it, so they will probably take it next turn. In terms of strategy, it's been decided I'm going after Pythium. And Agartha and I have talked about that. Now, this right here, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. 50 Defenders of the Hall underwater are going to be a classic PITA for me. That said, it looks like he just moved them out from Phasia rather than in from somewhere else. So that's okay. I just want to know where they're going. If they're going over here to try to attack Uruk, that's fine. Fine, do that. I don't care. We, of course, have a non-aggression pact. If Nasajin backstabs me, I mean, it happens. I would be disappointed. But not too terribly surprised, because, as I said, it does happen. I'm hoping that my enormous, like, unwieldily large stack of random underwater independence dissuades that somewhat. But mainly, this stack is to attack Pythium, which will be happening in probably 3 to 4 turns. We're building up. I've pretty much hit the research that I want. I do want construction level 6 before I go to war. And then after that, I am probably going to work my way down. I don't know. Alteration level 7 would be really, really good. That would give me mass protection and marble warriors, of which I only really need 1 at a time, but you know what I mean. It would also give me iron walls, which is kind of a cool spell. Enchantment would also be a good one to go down, because I've talked about these spells a number of times and never even come close to casting them. And of course, if I go down to level 7, I could contest Agartha's Earthblood Deep Well, potentially. It'd be hard, but I might be able to do that. But I think first, if I want to increase my combat power further, the first step is going to be Conjuration level 7, where I can cast Living Fire, Living Clouds, and Living Earth and Living Water very effectively. Also, I can summon Mound Fiends at that point, which increases my death economy significantly. So, Conjuration 7 and Alteration 7 would probably be the way to go if I want combat power. Alteration for Marble Warriors, Conjuration for Elemental Spam increased. Alternatively, and I've mentioned this, I could just keep going down Construction. I could get Construction 8. Construction 7 would get me Forge of the Ancients, which I can do. And Weapons of Sharpness, which doesn't even require gems. And has actually a really low fatigue cost. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure why Weapons of Sharpness is so... I mean, it's not easy to cast. It requires level 5 Earth. But if you have level 5 Earth, Weapons of Sharpness is, like, really easy to cast. I would also open up Mechanical Men, which are pretty cool. Pretty cool little units. And it would let me forge Brass Bowls. I have a lot of Fire Gems. This could be a way to spend Fire Gems efficiently. Any Tyrant wearing a pair of Earth Boots can forge Brass Bowls. And it would open up Forge of the Ancients, as I mentioned. And Forge of the Ancients would be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet indeed. You know what? I think I've talked myself into it. I think I'm going to go down Construction to level 8. I think that's going to be my first level 8 research. I'm just going to... To be honest, I have rarely researched Construction level 8 before. It has not been a big thing for me, but I'm going to do it. In other news, So this was actually really kind of funny. So Sextus, my assassin, tried to assassinate Matsuko the Uba, and he got unlucky. He came really, really close, especially with that air elemental. Unfortunately, step 1, he got a Death 2 random, which is a little bit unlucky because she can cast Horde of Skeletons, and Death Mages love doing that. But Horde of Skeletons can't stop him because he's ethereal and he has his lesser air elemental. So they actually clean up the two of them, this Horde of Skeletons, really, really quickly. Matsuko then summoned another one, which they started cleaning up just as quickly, hampered by the fact that his Frostbrand does not hurt Long Dead much. But, you know, things happen. But she started casting Bolt of Unlife, and she missed the first time, and I'm like, oh no, maybe I can, but the Air Elemental did not trample her. She only has 4 hit points, incidentally. But then she cast it again, and hit him, and wiped him out in one shot. So... that's an assassin down the tubes. What's really funny is, I got another one. I got another stalker at exactly the same time on the other side of the nation. I don't know if the game just felt bad for me, losing my stalker on his first mission or what, but I got another one. So, I'm sorry, I just think that's hilarious. To be fully honest, I think it's hilarious that I got another Stalker. What I'm going to try to do is actually, I'm going to try to give him Boots of Quickness, because I want him to be able to rush into combat like as fast as possible in an effort to basically stab a mage before they can cast a spell. I'm going to have to do some research to see how I can stack speed buffs on him in order to accomplish that. I don't need him to be quickened necessarily. I just need him to move, to have a really, really high combat speed. Because the combat speed 10 can move 10 squares in the time it takes to cast a spell. That means they actually move 5 squares before the spell is cast. If you look at the assassination real quick, you can count the squares separating the two. It is, let's show the grid. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 squares. 15 squares between them. So if you have a combat speed of 30 or more, I believe that means you can actually reach the mage before they can cast a spell, at least a standard 100% length cast speed spell. So if I can get his combat speed up to like 32 or 36, he should be able to assassinate mages just by bum rushing them and stabbing them before they can cast anything. That would be the goal. So I'm going to experiment to see if I can achieve that with Akatis. I'm not going to send him into battle. Unfortunately, by losing that battle, I lost a whole bunch of valuable magical items, including, of course, a Bag of Wind. I thought the Bag of Winds would pretty much guarantee he could accomplish something there, but guess not. It's a problem. Hopefully when I kill this army, I'll get that Bag of Winds back. And in the meantime, we're going to... the Doom stack is rolling in to crush this army. Troops are moving around here. I'm moving this guy down here to take over patrolling duties. Fanon, who moved away from here last turn, is actually going to double back. I'm going to try to patrol this province and figure out what's causing that unrest and get rid of it if it's an event. If it's an ongoing event, I want to get rid of it. If it's a site, then there's not a whole lot I can do about it. Enchanters would be kind of nice to have, because at least I just need a couple. But Nature 2 boosted to Nature 3 opens up a couple of things that will be kind of nifty. So we'll see what we can do there. Of course, late game, if I can scrape together the Nature Gem income, Hulk Smash is already high enough nature to summon worm mages and stuff like that. So he can already do some of the high-level nature things. So I don't really need enchanters, but they would be kind of nice. Unrest is going up by about 6 points per turn, I believe. So the war plan here is I've got a couple of flying shoes. I'm definitely going to trigger an earthquake trap at some point on a Pythium communion. I'm definitely going to roll in with big stacks of infantry. Down here, I'm finally moving these guys out. I have 30 heavy cavalry in this province, and I'm recruiting cataphracts. Well, not right now because I'm out of money, but I can be recruiting cataphracts there, and I can now recruit knights, which are better heavy cavalry, in the Steppe of Wild Horses. So, yeah, I'm going to do that a lot. So my armies are going to be augmented with huge numbers of heavy cavalry, or if not huge numbers, at least large numbers. And heavy cavalry are pretty solid units, so I think that will be nice. Especially once I get marble warriors and stuff on them. Oof, they are going to be tough. Though to be honest, if I'm being efficient, for marble warriors and weapons of sharpness and such, I should literally just spam heal-it warriors. Just millions of them. Heal-it warriors with weapons of sharpness would be legitimately extremely dangerous. Like 18 armor piercing damage? Ooh, that would be nasty. So, like I said, in a few turns, the war against Pythium will be kicking off. I will probably also at some point here take over Vanheim. I've been talking about that and talking about it and talking about it, and I haven't done it. And it kind of needs doing. We're going to move this guy over here to see what's going on over in this side. I wonder if Pythium has already invaded Vanheim. I don't know. It's possible. Vanheim had an army here, and Pythium had an army down around here. I don't know what happened to it because he's really, really good at patrolling his forts. So, we'll see what's going on. But that's going to be the turn. I will see you all in turn 42, where hopefully the last vestiges of Shinoyaman resistance will be crushed, and we will be able to move on to the next war. So, thank you very much, and take care. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is Honor turn 42. Another global enchantment has been cast. Pythium has cast Stellar Focus, which is giving them an extra 5 Astral Pearls per turn. Not a big deal, but kind of a deal. It does increase their gem income, and given how relatively low gem incomes are right now, that's like a 10% or 8% increase, which is not insubstantial. In terms of what I'm doing, finally, Yama has been destroyed. Excuse me there. Despite the fact that I did this battle in the stupidest possible way. But, in any case, if you look over here, you may notice all my mages are in the middle of a huge blob of things. That is, looks like an enemy minor air elemental attacking me. And he's going to just be stabbed to death. But, I forgot to make sure that my fire mages were actually out front where their fire elementals could be useful, instead of totally surrounded by troops. And so I summoned a whole bunch of fire elementals in the middle of my army and ended up burning a huge number of people to death. But other than that, this battle went really well. You can see we're dropping thunder strikes on some Dai-Oni. We're, how are these Dai-Oni surviving, by the way? I mean, it's armor negating damage and a lot of it. One second, I need to look at this. Well, okay, that Dai-Bakemono was killed. That Dai-Bakemono was killed. That Dai-Bakemono was killed. Yeah, I've already killed a whole bunch of Dai-Bakemonos with Thunder Strikes, so, you know what, okay. Maybe they're actually in the next square over. As the battle goes on, lots of Thunder Strikes doing lots of damage and stunning people, air elementals flying around messing everyone up. Tamamo-no-mae, the god of Yama, burned to death here, very early on. My infantry advanced, my archers, however, also pushed forward to keep the fire elementals trapped. So the fire elementals had no part in this battle. The only contribution these fire elementals performed was to stay behind and slowly set archers on fire and burn them to death. They also did that to one of my mages, Anthros the Trophimos Oppressor over here. And as we watch the battle, you will notice Anthros just slowly taking damage until he burns to death. He never manages to put himself out. Alas, poor Anthros. You were the best of us. But otherwise, the battle goes very simply. I just have too much force here, which was what I had hoped to accomplish. The Howl distracts people. One of the fire elementals does eventually get loose and attack, although not accomplishing much. And my troops and evocations eventually just kill the enemy. Meanwhile, something like half of my... well, no, a quarter of my Healet archers are just outright burned to death. Never accomplishing anything of value. I guess some of them were probably killed by the Bakemono sorcerers, and of course I lost Anthros, who also burned to death. Good job, me. Those fire elementals, I mean, wow, they really contributed there. I also lost my ghoul commander, which is sad. But other than that, just chaff, and I'm okay with losing chaff. 11 units managed to get off the field, but they just retreated back to the fortress, so that's fine. I also took over Sinafi from the Bakemono scout that was holding it. So once again, my territory is contiguous. And that was the last field force of Yama. That was Yama's death ride. All that's left is their fortresses. They haven't gone AI. He's fighting to the end, but he could have been more annoying. If he had decided to move away and continue trying to raid me, he could have wasted more time. But I think Great Grey Shrike just decided the writing's on the wall. There's no point in fighting this any longer. So, Hulk Smash is moving over here to reinforce this army. Actually, he doesn't need to do that. Instead, I'm going to have him research, or is there a good ritual he can cast? Not really. Nope, don't really have anything cool that he can cast at the moment. I'm trying to save up my nature gems, which is a little bit frustrating because I also want to forge things with nature gems. But I really would like to get Mother Oak. Despite my nature income being so terrible, like, getting Mother Oak would be really cool. I think what I'm going to do is, right now I have... okay, so, geopolitically, the things that are going on is... the alliance against Pythium has gelled, and in 3 turns, on turn 45, we will be attacking Pythium. We is myself, Tianxi, Uruk, and Abyssia. Now, obviously, Pythium is maintaining significant forces in anticipation of an attack by me. His paranoia not helped by the fact that we actually don't have a non-aggression pact. To be fair, I offered him a non-aggression pact and he turned it down. So, you know, or rather he carefully never responded. So, you know, on his own head be it, I guess. I'm building up significant infantry forces here. I don't have infantry commanders, but remember, every Trophimos oppressor has 45 or more leadership. Like, this guy actually has 60 leadership for no particular reason that I can see. This guy only has 45. But in any case, a communion can, by virtue of being a communion, lead a whole bunch of infantry. And I also have this barbarian chief here, who can, right now, can take all these troops and patrol in order to stop scouts from getting through. Similarly, over here, Hussar, my independent commander, can have all those guys, and he can patrol in order to kill scouts. So we're doing that to shut down the scout road into my territory. Although scouts can funnel right through the caverns of Gnek, where they have only a very small chance of being detected because I effectively have a patrol strength of 7. I am still summoning cave crabs. I'm up to 13 of them. Some people might say this is a huge waste of earth gems. To those people I say, I mean, you might be right, but I feel like they're probably worth something. Although, honestly, if I want to get into the water in time to be relevant, they have to leave now. So if a close is wearing a pair of flying boots, I'm going to put those back into my magic item repository. So I have 2 pairs of winged shoes. I am currently forging a 3rd. Having 3 pairs of winged shoes will make earthquake traps possible. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, because up here I have 4 Trophimos oppressors. Putting a lizard shaman into a communion will make earthquake traps a lot more difficult because shamans don't have any protection. I can forge them some armor. Like having one of them in black steel plate or just giving them winged shoes would solve the issue. But in general, I've talked about earthquake traps before and the way my communions can pull them off. In general, a Phlegra communion versus a Pythian communion is going to be like annihilation. It's just going to be death and destruction on a grand scale because Pythian communions are astral, and so of course they will have access to enslave mind. Now, I'll be going in behind a huge wall of chaff, and the chaff will absorb enslave mind because my helots have magic resistance 9, and so are excellent targets for enslave mind, whereas all of my mages have higher magic resistance, although not that much higher. Phlegran mages do have lower magic resistance than I would say most mages. Like Trophimos oppressors, still only magic resistance 13 base, which is the same as like these guys. It's actually worse than lizard shamans. Lizard shamans have better magic resistance. If I bring in lizard shamans as communion masters, they can also cast enslave, but I'd rather have them casting nature spells. Mostly Howl. I would definitely love to have Howl active in every single battle. But in general, my strategy against Pythian communions then is probably going to be just wiping the field as fast as possible. Like, I anticipate having to refill my chaff every time I fight a battle against Pythium. I anticipate winning communion versus communion battles against Pythium, but I also anticipate having to refill my chaff every single time. Now, strategically, getting to attack from here, relatively easy. Attacking from here, that will be more difficult because, of course, I have Heat 3 scales. One potential strategy would be for me to cast Woven Winter on both of these provinces, which would, especially since we're going into winter, we'll be fighting on turn 45, which will be, right now it's early fall, so fall, late fall, early winter. So the attack will be going out between late fall and early winter. So if I cast Woven Winter on both provinces, I think I could freeze this river, which would allow me to bring this communion in to support this communion in one big apocalyptic showdown. And that, I think, would... because right now I've got I'm counting siege strength is what I'm doing right at the moment. And I think with... why are you not summoning a cave crab? I think with my cave crabs, because my cave crabs give me 4 siege strength each. So with 8 more cave crabs, that's another 32 siege strength. So I'm at about 100 here. 2 turns of infantry recruitment. I would probably recruit some more. I'm recruiting some infantry right now, and then next turn I would swap over to recruiting Cyclops warriors in both forts, which would be gold expensive, but I do tend to have gold. I've got all these guys. I'm spending 1 turn capturing a whole bunch more slaves here. And then we're going to go in with this army. I've got this army, Orias, moving with his 56 siege strength. I've got this army with 84 siege strength coming down. I think on turn 45, because next turn is turn 43. Turn after that is turn 44. I think on turn 45 I'll be able to crack this fort in 1 turn. It has 250 wall integrity. It's got 180 units inside that are all humans, which should mean about 90 to 100 siege defense. So I need about 350 siege strength in order to crack it. Right now I have 84, 64, so that's 140, 220, 280. Right now I'm already up to 400. So even without further recruitment, I should be able to bust that fort in 1 turn. What I'm aiming for is on turn 45, I will have Weapons of Sharpness. I should have Construction level 7. Weapons of Sharpness instantly makes my Helots extremely dangerous. Much more dangerous than his Roman infantry. On top of that, I can of course spam buffs if I want to onto my infantry. So one strategy would be to rely on infantry. But as I said, this is going to be a huge communion fight, and my strategy for huge communion fights is going to be wipe the field. Firestorm, Earthquake, Shimmering Fields, all those kinds of spells. I have Tough Chaff and he doesn't. So I'll just burn the world, basically. All of my Trophimos oppressors can cast fire resistance. They can make themselves fly, so it'll be like Temper Flesh, Firestorm, Personal Flight, Earthquakes. Especially if I'm in 1 super communion, I can afford to basically do all of that stuff and just really, really light him up. I am going to probably have to spend most of my air gems crafting winged shoes, because as I said, right now I only have 2 pairs. I've got a 3rd pair under construction. But I'll definitely want, basically I need everybody who needs to cast anything that isn't personal flight. Round 1, I need to have a pair of winged shoes. So I would want to have like 4 or 5 pairs. And I think that would allow me to really go in hard. I think if I focus enough power, I could get a 32 slave communion going, which would be a little bit crazy, and would easily be divisible into 2 16 slave communions to continue taking Pythium provinces 2 at a time. But I definitely want to crush this fort in 1 turn, if at all possible. And I think I can do it. Up north, in support of the invasion of Pythium, I'm also going to have to be invading Vanheim at the same time, and normally I would not want to fight 2 wars like that. Unfortunately, I don't have a better option. This army is large and powerful, and it's a significant fraction of my combat strength, and unless I can get through Vanheim, it's worthless. Like, I almost feel like I have to be using it or I'm wasting it. That's not entirely true. I could just sit all these mages here and research with them, which would be a fair use. To be honest, I might do it, just in the name of not fighting 2 wars at once. I feel like it's a little risky, especially considering my proven track record of taking far more damage in winning wars than I need to. And Vanheim is one of those nations that can really, really punish you, really, really make you pay for fighting them if they want to. Like, in order to fight Vanheim in relative safety, I would need like a real shock and awe campaign early on. I would need to be taking provinces left, right, and center. And then they still have 5 forts I would need to burn my way through. So maybe I won't invade Vanheim. I do have a non-aggression pact with them. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just go in through here. I will, of course, be sweeping Pythium out of the ocean at the same time, which I can absolutely do. I have an enormous pile of garbage down here that I can use to drive Pythium's forces from the sea, because their pile of garbage is much smaller than mine, and so my pile of garbage should win. Unless he, like, dumps 40 or 50 province defense in this province, which I suppose he might. But it would have to be a lot of province defense, because these guys are effectively province defense, and there's over 100 of them already. And I'm recruiting more every turn. Yeah, there's 14 more here. I'll add another... It'll be 20. I'll move 20 up here. So yeah, I'll be invading with about 130, 140 fish people. And they should be able to take it. Up here, I'm still very, very slowly building up turtle warriors in order to eventually invade the Sea Untamed with them and whatever water summons I can get. There are not... You can't, like, summon water things on land. Except sea trolls. You can do sea trolls, but they require water 3, which means I need construction 6, which I won't have until next turn. And then I'll need to spend more water gems, and my water gem income is low, so you see what I'm getting at. It's just not really going to happen. In order to increase my water income, what I actually need to do is I need to be moving around water sages in order to search all of these provinces that I haven't searched with water. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to start taking water sages and going around to search provinces. I have 2 water sages right now. And do I have a third anywhere? Do I have a third water sage somewhere? No. No, I don't. That's fine. 2 will do it. I just want to boost my water income so I can start doing things with water. I've got some water. I've got water searching done over there. I've got water searching done there. I've actually searched a significant fraction of my territory in water. But there's still a significant fraction that is unsearched. So I'll keep looking. Like, I have the Well of White Water there. I have the... What else? What else is giving me water income? I don't even really know. Not Turtle Villages, that's for sure. I don't know where the rest of my water income is actually coming from. One of it's coming from Mount Yama. It's not coming from the Burning Fields, because they don't give any water income. It's a mystery. Oh, I've got the Mist Caverns there, and the... Nope, Painted Cave doesn't give me water. Anyway, there's 1 water gem unaccounted for, but I'm not going to waste time on it right now. So that's the plan. 3 turns, we'll go into Pythium. We might go into Vanheim at the same time. Might. I'm a little bit scared of their invisible armies. And what I'm scared of is that they'll counter-invade me in this direction, and I won't have the resources available to deal with it because all of my mages will be attacking Pythium. So that's what I don't want to happen. Now, I do have this secondary communion that will be taking Lapintha that I can then move down this way to provide a reaction force. And I do also have a whole bunch of air random sages that, if I have air gems, I can potentially cloud trapeze to drop onto an enemy army and summon a whole bunch of air elementals to run them over. However, air elementals are not terribly efficient against elven units because elven units tend to have very high defense scores, which means they don't trample very easily. And they also have high attack scores, which means they can hit the elementals back fairly easily. So, I don't feel like it would be great. I have cast Twiceborn on Amphimakos, so he will return as a white if he dies. Returning as a white will actually make him a better mage, although it will make him a worse combatant. So if he comes back as a white, no harm, no foul. I have 10 death gems that I'm not spending right now, so I think Asopos here got the 10% random, actually. He got an extra path. You can see all tyrants have a 10% chance to get an extra path. He didn't get the very most useful combination. He randomed 1 fire and 1 air. So he ended up with all 4 paths, which is pretty neat, but he doesn't have either air or death at high levels, which are really useful. So basically he's a big fire mage. And other than that, he's got earth. But the cool thing about Asopos is, if I forge him a Skull of Fire, which I'll be able to do at Construction 6, he can cast Firestorm round 1. Much like my Communion mages can do when they have 16 slaves or more. In a Communion, casting Firestorm is a huge fatigue hit that is generally a bad idea, because in a Communion, so Firestorm costs 500 fatigue. If you cast it in a 16 slave Communion, 500 divided by 16 is still 20 fatigue each, and then that's quadrupled for anyone who doesn't have the fire path. So it instantly takes up almost half of the fatigue that you have available before your people start taking damage. Therefore, casting Firestorm in a Communion really, really shortens the life of your Communion, and not just because it will burn them all to death. You can cast fire resistance of some kind. Temper Flesh is probably the best way to do it. You can cast Temper Flesh and Iron Skin, and then pretty much ignore the damage. But nonetheless, it will really hurt your Communion's longevity. So if you cast Firestorm from a Communion, you can't then spam other spells from that Communion very effectively. So given that, I would kind of rather cast it with a Tyrant, because a Tyrant, Asopos, can just go in, and if he's holding a Skull of Fire, he can summon Phoenix Power, which will make him Fire 6, cast Firestorm, which will cost him 250 fatigue, and then just go to sleep for a while. And the Communion can keep casting things. He already has fire resistance. I can put this Red Dragon Scale Mail on him to make him effectively fire immune, and he can just like go in and cast the spell from the back lines and then just sleep a while, you know, have a nap while around him everything burns, which is really what Tyrants want. So that's a potential strategy for the future. None of my other Tyrants can cast Firestorm without having a fire booster and also casting Phoenix Power. I'm building up significant fire gems pretty quickly, so what I'll probably do is, research-wise, I'll go up enchantment to level 6 and throw down Eternal Pyre. Takes level 6 fire. Asopos can cast it. I just need to give him both fire boosters. Need to give him a Skull of Fire and a Flaming Helmet, which I can do. Won't be all that costly. Not sure if I'm going to do Eternal Pyre really soon. It will require, of course, forging both of those boosters. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and forge one of them now, I think. Do I have a hammer going unused right now? I'm using one hammer to forge a Ring of Regeneration, and I'm using one hammer to forge Winged Shoes. Let's forge the Flame Helmet right now. So we're going to forge the Flame Helmet. That will take the majority of my fire gems, but they'll come back. And if we look at Eternal Pyre, it does cost 80 fire gems, which is 7 turns of my income. But we'll basically just kind of build our fire gems up. We might send Asopos out to cast one Firestorm during some important battle. But for now, we're just going to have Asopos chill out here, capture slaves, and then we'll send Amphimachos and Pelorus over with the armies to help invade Pythium. Well, I might send Asopos too, just for the Firestorm thing. I think adding Firestorm to my Battlefield Wipe roster would be helpful. But in any case, that's going to be for the future. For now, I'm moving people out to search for various magic sites. I'm moving my big posse of heavy cavalry over towards Pythium. I think they'll reach there in 3 turns. Mestor has some cataphracts and some infantry. He's swinging down south to grab these knights to add to his units, and then he's going to come over to join the armies. I don't know if he'll make it in 3 turns. He might. Yeah, there's some terrain in the way, but he might be able to make it in 3 turns, or if not, he'll swing up here and start going down this way after the invasion has started. So long as I can break this big communion here, I'll be able to take a significant chunk of territory. There are a couple of other communions sitting around. There's a communion here, Theurg Acolytes and Theurgs with some Arch-Theurgs. There's a communion here, mainly Theurg communicants, but with at least one Arch-Theurg. And of course, there's a great big ol' communion here that's performing primarily research with Theurg acolytes, but also has a whole bunch of Theurg communicants, so they'll be able to cast a lot of astral spells. But we will see how that goes in turn 45, and I'll see you in turn 43.